Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 2026 Pokémon World Championships and XP event. I am Tricky Jim, joined by Azul Garcia Griego, AzulGG. How you doing, Azul?
Doing pretty good. Excited for the event this weekend. A lot less pressure going to this World Championships than the last couple for me personally. So excited just to enjoy the competition and not worry about it.
For sure. I was thinking about it. And have you ever been to a World Championships that you weren't competing at? I think this is my second ever.
Yeah, once back in 2014, the first year in DC, I didn't compete in that one.
Same.
Yeah.
And that was like the one that I was at. Yeah, it was like pretty close for me at the time. So went out to that one. That was like right as I was really starting to get into competitive Pokemon. But since then, this is my first Worlds that I'm actually just here to spectate and have fun.
Yeah, so it's been a while. My first year was 2013. I got my invite there, but 2014 was pretty tough to get your invite, so I didn't pull it out that year. And then, so I just showed up though because it was fairly close for me. I mean, I was up in Boston, so decent drive, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
drove down.
We just got done with the Pokemon Center preview. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
they have really done it up. What continues to impress me about this event is just the production on everything. Everything is next level. Everything is more expansive, brighter, bigger than I've ever seen it for Pokemon before, and the World Store certainly impressed. What item specifically stood out to you while we were taking a look through the World Store?
The jersey, the baseball jersey, the was it maroon, red, brick? It was like a reddish, right?
Yeah.
Color, yeah, that jersey. And then honestly, the Legos. I'm a big fan of Legos I've been a big fan of Legos for a long time. I haven't built anything in quite a while. Got a ton of old Star Wars sets, or had. I don't know if my mom got rid of them or not, to be honest. I might not have them anymore. But I'd been thinking about getting back into Lego once the Pokemon Legos got announced, and they're definitely calling to me. I think I'm gonna be picking up a set or two at Worlds this year.
Nice. Which one did you like the best of all the Legos? Was it the Ray? Was it the
Rayquaza? The Rayquaza one was pretty sick. Yeah, the Rayquaza one was sick. What about you though? What was calling your name?
The duffel bag, like, been working out a little bit. It's kind of like a gym bag,
practical, right?
It's practical. I imagine that thing being pretty tough. Roll up to the gym with the Pokemon duffel bag. It just looks nice. It looks really slick. I like the logo. I like the color. It's awesome. I also just really love the double deck boxes. Every year, I make sure to get a World's double deck box, and then I use them. They're just very practical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just when you have a lot of decks, being able to slam them into the double deck boxes is really nice. So I'm certainly going to pick up a double deck box as well. We had been we polled Twitter. I guess it's X, the everything application. We asked people online on X, the everything application, what kind of questions they might have for us about competitive play, about the World Championships, about the first ever Pokemon XP, and we're gonna field some of those during this pregame show and kind of just yap about it.
First one that I had was, what's more valuable in the months leading up to Worlds? A strong group of players to test with, to bounce ideas off of, or just raw hours sunk into the game, just grinding? I'm curious to know what you think.
You gotta have the crew, dude. You gotta have the crew. I mean, there's certainly arguments for both ways. I mean, especially with this kind of new online era where people are just putting very huge amounts of hours into just grinding the Pokemon trading card game. I think in a way that maybe it just simply hadn't been before. There are people sinking crazy amounts of hours. However, I do think that you can sometimes get tunnel visioned if you're just operating by yourself, or if you don't have a good group to bounce ideas off of. Very few players, I think, can just get their solo grinding. So for me, I would say it's definitely the group, not just because you have all these different perspectives. They say, two heads are better than one, well, three heads are better than two, and five are better than three. But also for morale, because I think that also is one of the biggest challenges of being a longtime competitor, is just keeping your head up and not getting burnt out, and having a solid group is what helps me do that.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for that is it depends what you're looking at when you're going to the event. Does Hedrick really need a group of players to change one card from his NAIC 60? Probably not. I think he can find out that 60th card by himself. So I think it depends on what direction you're going with your deck choice. If you're trying to broaden your horizons to have a stronger potential play into an event, it's having people there to work with is like a huge deal. But it doesn't hurt to have a group of Dragapult heads just grind mirrors all day as well, right? That's also going to be beneficial to have just a bunch of good players playing the Dragapult mirror over and over again, even if you're all set on your 60s before the event has even gotten close.
What do you think of the Mega Lopunny Dusknoir Bronzong deck that has been making rounds? It just won the Full Grip Games $5,000 cash invitational. Do you think this deck will show up to Worlds, and is it a legitimate threat?
It's tough to say. It's actually kind of funny. I was actually playing with the deck while the Full Grip tournament was going on. So, and when the finals started, I actually queued into a Extra Drill on ladder at the same time. From what I played with it, it felt like it was doing something. So, I mean, Bronzong is good, but you just need to find a way to enable it. And it's kind of more so the question is like, what is the best partner for Bronzong? This seems like a pretty good fit. I would have to play a lot more with it to like really have a hard answer, but it seems it's worth investigating. I think that's where I ended. It's like it's worth investigating further, but I'm not competing at Worlds, so I'm not going to sink a ton of time into it last minute to see if it really is all some people have claimed it to be. So, but I wouldn't be surprised. We're definitely going to see some this weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised to see one go deep.
I think that we're going to see one in top 8.
Really?
Personally, I think we'll see one in top 8.
Going all the way.
I think so. I think that the Lopunny Dusknoir deck kind of existed without Bronzong for a little while, just trying to pop things, blow them up. There was a Dusknoir Palkia V-Star deck that was also trying to do this, right? With like Radiant Greninja and Dusknoir and just kind of like blast your opponent before they get to do anything, right? And this kind of reminds me of that a little bit with the Palkia V-Star Dusknoir deck, except now it's Mega Lopunny and you have Bronzong there to buy you time. I do think that there's a lot of people trying to figure this deck out leading up to Worlds. So to me, it's kind of the most interesting new player in the field, right?
Definitely.
That is coming into the event. So to me, that's pretty exciting. And just for hype's sake, I hope it's in top 8.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you there. Yeah, just for hype's sake, just like to get something new in the mix, it would be good to see it be competitive at the event this weekend.
Now, what are you calling to win the whole thing?
I think it won't be Dragapult, and that's kind of like the thing that the top players have to decide, or all the competitors at this event is like, you play Dragapult, I think it gives you the best chance of making top cut. The better you are, the better chance that gives you. But so I think we're just going to see some kind of weird anti-Dragapult deck take the whole thing down. I think a lot of good players are gravitating towards Zoroark because not only is it favored against Dragapult, but you have a wider matchup spread, where something like an all-out Blitzel, Quad Clefairy deck, a lot more narrow matchup spread. But I think something like a Zoroark or a Quad Clefairy is going to be what takes the event.
I like that. I'm kind of with you there. Like, it's strange because if I was competing, I would be leaning towards Dragapult for a lot of reasons. It feels like the highest power level deck. It feels like the most consistent deck. It's got the most answers to the most amount of things. And as a competitive player, you really want to be able to rely on your own skill to navigate matchups and not just spin the wheel and say like, I hope I hit the matchup gauntlet. But I do think that there will be a lower representation of your single prize decks at this event. I really don't think that there's going to be like a lot of Festival Lead. I don't think that there's going to be like a ton of Alakazam.
Probably not, yeah.
And stuff like that. You know, I think the Delmai's deck is really not good. So I'm not expecting those single prize decks to show up as much. And those kinds of decks usually give like your big basic toolbox and your Zoroark decks some struggles. So I think the door could be wide open for them to do well.
How have you seen the event evolve over the years, both as a competitor and attendee, and what would you like to see more in the future?
Gosh, I mean, like that's a great question, and I'm like actually in the process of making a video that's very much kind of talking about the evolution of organized play, the evolution of the World Championships. There are so many inflection points that kind of change things, and you know, you've been playing a little longer than me. You've seen so many of these different things. Obviously, the stream productions was like such a huge change in the way that the events went. I mean, starting with like the top cut on YouTube, just, Puka and his friends just kind of leading the way, doing things grassroots style. And then eventually one year they brought in like IGN to do it.
Yep.
And then, and that was like a one-off, I think, or maybe two. And then since then they've had Paperlight doing it, and Paperlight has been like an incredible production company that's helped them to really ramp up the level of the productions. It's almost like, if a tree falls in the woods and no one sees it, like, does it make a sound, right? Like if a Pokemon event happens but it's not streamed, like, did it happen, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's hard to divorce the concept of the Pokemon World Championships from like the stream production. And I think that the stream production has continued to just get better and better and better every year. And that's been something huge to celebrate. Thinking about what I'd like to see more from the World Championships, it's hard to say with an event so grand and so big here, getting ready to take place. It feels like they've really kind of got their ducks in a row this year. They seem to be doing things well for the competitors. They seem to be providing the XP event, which is kind of like an event for the fans. And I think that separation of things has been really good for the player experience, because the players can just kind of focus on Worlds, which is their special event. And then the fans get XP, which is their special event. So I think that this was a really natural evolution. What I would like to see is I'd like to see the idea conceptually of the XP event continue to grow, with fans being offered more and more and more to do at the World Championships, just as like kind of a massive Pokemon celebration. But I think that this is like the necessary first step in that direction, and I'm just happy to see it going that way.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd add on to that is, like, I really want to see more esportsification of Pokemon. Like, we're going to the Chase Center this year. What is that going to look like? I'm really excited for that. But I also want to see more of the top players be turned into superstars, and I want to see Pokemon treat them as like, as long as they want to, right? Because there's like a casual. There's like people who like are really good at the game who want to be more casual. But if there's players out there who want to be the next Tord, and
Heavenly
you want,
Kings,
want the spotlight and want the spotlight on them, I want that to exist in the game. I think that'd just be really, really cool for the future of the game, to see players brought up like that in the scene, if that's something they want to do. But I think it has to come a little bit from Pokemon to like put the spotlight on more of these top players in a way that turns them into, these kind of superstars.
Yeah, that's cool to think about. And it's crazy just with how long we've been playing. I mean, even just the concept of like a player being sponsored was like laughable prospect, 10 years ago. But now, sponsorships are real. There's enough eyes on the game. It's starting to get to that point, which is really exciting. Something that's kind of blowing my mind conceptually about this event is that there is going to be Pokemon on the Jumbotrons at the Chase Center. That cool. That is crazy, right? Because you're at the Chase Center. How do you watch a tabletop game happening all the way down there? It's like the cards look like ants. So there are not just going to be screens, there are like Jumbotrons, right? That are going to be projecting the game, which to me, that's just very exciting, happening from all angles, right? Being able to watch it as a kind of esport. And I think that is kind of what's going to start making players, have this kind of semi, micro celebrity status, right? Is that when you are, pumping someone's like biggest life achievement, to hundreds of thousands of fans on Jumbotrons, like there's something magical about that.
Yeah, so, definitely for sure. Yeah. And I'm sure they're going to one up themselves. What they did last year was huge, with the arena. I'm sure they're going to one up themselves. And honestly, maybe the biggest thing is just like hoping that Pokemon stays on track, because they do make it bigger every year. So,
what do you think was the biggest factor in becoming a popular content creator?
Literally making content. That's like, and that's like what like people will ask me all the time is like, what do I need to get into content? How do I start making content? And you literally just like, the only thing I would say is gotta make sure the audio is decent. But besides that, the video actually doesn't even have to be that good of quality to start. It's literally just all about having good audio, and then doing something, and then you really just kind of find your way.
Yeah.
Like, once you just start making content, as long as you keep making it, and you have some passion for it, it just happens.
At the World Championships, they always do some sort of like big reveal at the end. Do you have anything that you would be predicting that they might reveal, or that you maybe wish they would or hope they would? If you could choose what they reveal, what would you choose, you think?
I think anything I could come up with, it wouldn't be like something I'd wish. Like I wish that they would come up with something that would just like surprise me. So like that's it's like really hard to be like, because I don't really want to draw back on like past stuff too much. I'm a big fan of, Gold Stars and Radiance. I like one-ofs. Like I like the Force one-of mechanic. I think last year was pretty underwhelming with Charizard.
Okay.
Like this year, I think is going to be a little bit better, but probably still pretty underwhelming. I think we're going to see the Mega Raichus, especially after the announcement. Yeah. So
Mega Raichu.
I think that we might see the Mega Raichus, we might see Mega Blastoise, and Mega Raichus, Mega Blastoise. I'm hoping they at least give us, as we're about to lose Ace-Specs, bring back another forced one-of mechanic to the game. Radiance, Gold Star, something like that would be cool as well.
For me, it's always, I just hope that they do something innovative and new. I'm kind of with you on that, right? Like I think that there's a lot of things just in culture generally that are just being kind of like rehashes. It feels like every movie, everything you see is just a rehash of stuff that's already been done. And honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot from Pokemon's perspective as well. Like, you do see a lot of gameplay mechanics that are just redone. Yeah. Right?
And they have to do, like, there can only be so many things they can do.
There are.
But we've seen owners, we got owners again, we got Megas again. That's like 2 years in a row of just like, we've seen them.
Yes. So, then I've been thinking about this, right? Because I sometimes I'll get like, a little bit like, they kind of rehash mechanics. But then, think about it from Pokemon's perspective, right? The game is bigger than it's ever been, right? Yep. Okay. And the game has this vast history to draw from as far as like different mechanics and things that have been done. But most people don't know about those, right?
That's true.
So most of your new players have never played through much of the game's history. So now that you kind of have this huge influx of interest in the Pokemon trading card game, which has been exploding in the last 5 years, it almost makes sense to kind of go through and do like a best of the Pokemon TCG to like get popular culture caught up to like what Pokemon cards is. And for longtime fans like us, we can kind of be like, this is actually just like this, or this is actually just like this. But to everybody who's kind of experiencing the Pokemon TCG new for the first time, like it's all very exciting, and they're getting to experience some of the best that the Pokemon TCG has to offer in such a short period of time, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, we get to re-solidify our Unk status. So you're saying you want them to bring tag teams back, right? That's what you're saying. You're excited for tag team Raichu.
Were tag teams the best that the game has to offer?
Ooh, maybe level X's, breaks.
Yeah,
those are maybe a little bit gold stars.
Breaks. I like breaks. I think that they could do. All right, that's my answer then. Breaks. I want them to do a mechanic for single prize Pokemon. That's my thing. I feel like a lot of times lately, Pokemon has been doing mechanics and they're only attaching them to multi-prize Pokemon.
Yeah.
Radiance were single prize Pokemon that had their own mechanic, which was cool, but they were like 2 good ones, really.
Yeah, and a little bit too good. Radiant Greninja was... Yeah.
and they were like kind of obscene and the power level wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
So I would like to see them do a mechanic that involves single prize Pokemon. I feel like anytime this kind of question comes up, it always goes back to like, Delta species. You had single prize Delta species Pokemon and you had multi-prize Delta species Pokemon. Compare that to like, the Terra mechanic where it's like all Terra Pokemon are 2 prizers.
Yeah.
There's no single prize Terra, involvement with the mechanic, and to me that kind of flattens it. So I would like to see a dynamic mechanic introduced that involves both single prize and multi-prize Pokemon.
That's a good answer for sure. Okay, I think this will be going to cap it off then. What's both of your favorite Worlds moments of all time?
That is a really good question, and it's tough because there are so many different things that I've perceived from the World Championships as a Pokemon fan and also as a competitor, right? So when you ask me, like, what's my favorite Worlds moment, it's hard to divorce those moments from the moments that I've experienced firsthand as a competitor, right? So, like, I'd be surprised to hear that your best Worlds moment wasn't your top 4 finish. I'd be shocked, actually. So, for me, though, wasn't my first Worlds in 2015. It was actually Worlds in Japan. So my favorite Worlds moment was going to Japan, the home of the Pokemon franchise, for the World Championships, getting to experience it with my family, and then climbing Mount Fuji afterwards with my friend Riley. That was like my best Pokemon Worlds experience, was actually, just being somewhere that I wouldn't have traveled otherwise. Like, I wouldn't have made that huge trip out to Japan if not for the World Championships being there. I wouldn't have climbed Mount Fuji if not for the World Championships being there. So that to me was a really special event, and it was so cool to see just an entirely different culture celebrate Pokemon in the way that they do. So that's something I really loved. And similarly, like when I went to Brazil for LAIC, getting to watch like an entirely different culture that's not just like American culture celebrate Pokemon. Those kinds of things, getting to experience Pokemon internationally, really are like my favorite experiences, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Japan was pretty sick. Yeah, I think I have to go with my top 4 Worlds in Japan. But yeah, Japan specifically was pretty cool. I've been back there once or twice since, and it's just like it's just different, man. But it's just so nice to be able to experience. I mean, I'm not mad I get to come home to America, but like it is nice to just go out to Japan, experience Japan, and then it's such a different country and culture and all that stuff. And yeah, Pokemon being able to take us there has been pretty sick.
Well, Azul, I appreciate your time, man. It's been a lot of fun doing this pre-game show.
For sure.
Let the people know where they can find you. Obviously, they already watch you, dude. AzulGG on YouTube, Twitch. Where else?
Yeah, AzulGG pretty much everywhere. My Instagram's a little bit different, but I don't actually remember. I think it's Azul__GG on Instagram. But besides everywhere else, AzulGG, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. Find me there.
There you go. Appreciate it. All right. We're going to be watching the World Championships live here in San Francisco, but hope you all enjoy the events. We'll continue to update throughout the week and let you know how it goes.